Hey guys, welcome to NAMA episode 27. Let us know, as always, if the video's working and if our sound is coming in clear. We'll get started in just a moment here. We'll let some people filter in. Sorry, we're getting started a little late. Some of the dogs are a little whiny, and so we moved them around so they wouldn't bark during the live stream.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully, yes, indeed. It looks like our stream health is a little lower than normal. Hopefully that won't be too big of a problem. As always, if you want to ask us follow-up questions or ask us brand new questions, you're welcome to. Make sure to post them on Patreon if you want us to see them quickly. Otherwise, you can post them to YouTube and Facebook, and we'll see them eventually, hopefully. But yeah, Patreon is the best way to see that, although that may be changing in the near future. Keep your eyes peeled for updates. We're potentially moving to a new platform. Patreon won't be going anywhere anytime soon, but we're going to be moving a lot of our lessons into a more coherent kind of landing spot. It's a way better. You guys will like it. I think.
You'll be able to find posts and topics of interest a lot more easily and more built for our kind of content.
So. Yes. So any updates? What about the book club?
Expect to post in the next week or two. I am doing a webinar on blank searches for Scentwork University. So if you have either any questions that you want answered or anything you think should be addressed in a presentation like that, I know a bunch of you already gave me some great ideas on Facebook, but if there's anyone else who hasn't yet, I would love to get your thoughts and incorporate them into that.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank everyone on Patreon who contributed to my
video blitz.
Yeah, no, not to the video blitz. Although I do want to thank you. I thought that went really well, and I'm really looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, we are. We decided it's going to be barring like being out of town, the sort of set date will be the second Monday of the month.
Yeah.
With NAMA as the third Monday or the fourth Monday of the month. So
yeah.
Second and fourth Monday.
The same as NAMA. If you're tier 5 or above, you can submit videos to that and you're going to have higher priority. If no one submits anything, then we will pull from anybody who submits videos. But if you're 5 or above, start sending videos if you'd like them analyzed, want to contribute, or have specific things you'd like to see. Maybe we can dig up a video of ourselves that illustrates a point or something like that. But I wanted to thank people who sent in the videos when I asked for the webinar I'll be doing on how to create a training plan for Dog Sport University or Scentwork University, I guess. There's multiple of them. So we both do webinars there regularly. Natalie does classes there all the time. It's a great platform. Make sure to check it out. But I was asked to do a webinar, and I'm collecting videos, and we're going to put together a quick lecture on how to make a training plan and how to implement that. So thank you so much. I got all the videos I need, and I'm really excited.
And it seems like that has been a topic on people's mind because I think you've gotten a request from a few different directions. So if any of you are interested or know someone who would benefit from that, we'll put it out there when it's gonna be live, and so you can send it to them.
Yeah. So let's see. I don't have a rant idea off the top of my head right now. Do you have a rant?
No, I was looking at the list.
None of them are really speaking to me.
Yeah, we've done a lot of them already.
So let me put one out there. This will be more of a discussion. So I want to hear your answers to this question. Which is worse, missing a hide or false alerting? Of the ways to fail a search, which is worse? Okay. What do you think? Is there one that's better or worse? Are they better or worse depending on the scenario you're in? Do you feel differently about different dogs? I know some people who are they don't care about missing hides because they have false alerting problems as long as they don't false alert. And I know other people who don't care about false alerting at all. They just want to make sure they hit every hide. And even if they false a couple times, if they find every hide, they consider that a win.
And I think different Levels of trial make a huge difference. Like when people were prepping to, well, when they were trying to get into the last nationals, they wanted as many points as possible. So missing hides were terrible because then you miss an entire hide's worth of points. But falsing was terrible because then you lose half a hide's worth of points. But I think people were leaning towards just wanting to get all the hides. I tend towards more of a blurred alert problem. I get excited and I want something to happen and I call an alert. And I usually already know that it's wrong. I'm not surprised when I get a no when that happens. And so I would generally rather not get any no's because that means I'm doing better with my not blurred alerting. But from a more general like scoring perspective, I think I would rather miss a hide than false. I would rather not give away points that I already have. And I also think that if you're missing a hide, it's probably usually an easier fix or a quicker fix than if you have a genuine false alert problem. My false alert problem is not my dog's problem; it's mine.
Yep, I'm put this on the screen so anybody who logs in gets to see it. But answer this question. Give us your response. We'll keep an informal tally of how many people think it's worse to miss a hide versus falsing. And at the end, we'll kind of go through them and give our responses. Also, if you have a reason why, give that justification for why you think one way or another. This could be really interesting. I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about that. So anyways, we don't have as many questions this month. So we're going to get right to it. The questions are kind of big, so hopefully we'll get through them all. And then if you have some extra questions, we'll get to them. And otherwise,
then we'll talk about the question.
Yeah. Also, one more update. We're going to be releasing merch for you guys, shirts and sweaters. And so if you are interested in, supporting us in another way, that we'll be very happy for you to buy our merch. So. And we'll probably give them away at some point too.
Yeah, once we've got some, they'll be part of we'll get back to doing NAMA giveaways.
Yeah.
But we hope to get those out really soon. So there'll be a post when they come out.
So let's get to question number 1. So can you discuss the different odor challenges in AKC versus NACSW and how to best train for those challenges? Good question. Thank you. So Natalie's an AKC judge, and we both train both, if you want to call them styles, although they're not even really styles. So the first thing I want to say before I kind of hand it off to Natalie, because we actually disagree on this, I think, a little bit.
And in the opposite direction as you might
expect. Yeah, it's true. But this is the way I feel about it. In general, people don't really go to an AKC agility class or what's the other? USDA agility class. You don't pick which one, right? And you don't really train one style or another. There isn't really a style. There is a difference. The venues are not the same, but agility is agility. You need the same skills. Even if AKC is quote unquote easier, you still need the basic same skills.
Or harder, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, or whichever you believe, right? And NACSW and AKC trials are actually just the same. There isn't a challenge that's more difficult in one than the other. The only thing you could say is odor's a little differently scented. And for some dogs, that makes a little bit of a difference. And for some dogs, it makes no difference. And for a very, very small portion of dogs, it makes a lot of a difference. But that's a very small portion of dogs that actually have that problem. But for example, buried and submersed hides, right? That's the big difference, right, between AKC and NACSW. My experience has been with absolutely.
So NACSW did submerged hides at the third nationals years and years and years.
Yeah, sure. And we did them in training before that. But my experience has been with zero preparation. If the dog has high level of odor obedience, the dog has no trouble. With a lot of preparation, the dog has low odor obedience. Doesn't matter. The preparation doesn't help. They still false. They still miss hides. So the deciding factor in succeeding in any venue seems to be odor obedience, not preparation for a specific set of skills.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add about that?
Well, I'll say some specific stuff about odor, but I don't know if you want to talk about your thoughts on odor, because that's where we actually differ.
Go ahead.
Okay, so AKC odor, if you don't know, is significantly stronger than NACSW. They put 2 drops of oil per Q-tip, which is significantly more odor. I think the dogs need exposure to whatever they're going to be trialing with, plus a bit broader than that, because otherwise they're going to have to be solving a new problem in trial, and that's going to take you more time than you're going to have. I tend towards setting NACSW strength probably 75% of the time in classes, AKC strength the other 25%. But I'm not like rigid on that. Those are just sort of what I tend to. I like setting AKC odor for allowing it to pool faster and letting the dogs work through that. But I also don't really feel that it's necessary to expose them to huge amounts of odor all the time, which is part of why I tend towards NACSW level odor. I think as a judge, one of the challenges of AKC is how many parameters are put on the judges of, like you can see in the rule book, the size that the search area can be. It's a relatively small range. So you have to fit your search, like for novice or whatever, 400 square feet or whatever it is, depending on the class. And so, you know, I think trials tend to look rather similar, but they're also pretty small areas at the lower levels. And so you may have a very small area with a gigantic amount of odor filling up the whole space, especially interiors is where it seems to cause more issues than any other element. And so if the dog hasn't been exposed and doesn't have good drive to source, they're going to have problems. The first AKC trial I judged was the first in Southern California. And I saw a lot of dogs who had limited exposure to AKC odor, and some had been working on it for maybe 4 to 6 months. And the dogs, it was a hard search. And the dogs who passed the search were the ones that work on odor obedience and drive to source every week. And there were dogs that I know, and a lot of those had maybe seen it once or twice. And there were dogs who had been working on it for a long time that were working on more like inaccessible, high level, supposedly advanced stuff. That the dogs just didn't bother to drive to source and just made a decision somewhere. So I absolutely agree. Odor obedience and drive to source are the most important. And if the dog thinks their criteria is something other than drive to source, you're going to have problems. But that's true in both venues. And I think buried in water are really fun, but it's worth to me taking the time to give the dog some exposure as opposed to just throwing them into it. Because yes, the dog could do it, but they're probably not going to do it in the time limit if they've never done it before. And with the handler being stressed out about it being a competition. Because I do think that for a lot of dogs, until they have been more exposed, it takes longer, much longer than like a container search to figure out exactly where the odor is.
Yeah, I'll have to actually test that because I've never done any of those with Lumi.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that she might take her marginally. Like I'm not going to place, but I'll do it in the time limit.
Yeah.
And
but
I
you
don't
also
like
are pretty good
doing
at keeping your
container
nerves
search.
under control.
That's true. So I'm just
I also
gonna.
think all those container searches can make things a little more boring for the dog.
Yeah, that's why I don't like doing container search. That's why if I was going to practice submerged or buried, I wouldn't do it the way AKC does it. I would just bury a hide or just throw a hide in a stream or something like that.
And in my water hides course, I have people take a break from doing it in containers and do it in kiddie pools or streams or whatever you have access to.
Yep.
So it also broadens the dog's understanding of how odor works in water.
Yeah.
And it helps it not be container searches over and over. But I also do a lot of sourceable hides, even in water hides. Harder to do with buried, but you can make it work with water.
So I'm just going to briefly go through my view of AKC odor and the problems with it or not, because I've said it before. And then something came to my mind of specific challenges that do come up that should be mentioned. So real quick, we've got 2 dogs. One dog has only ever seen AKC level odor his whole life. The other dog has only ever seen NACSW odor his whole life. Okay. And so we're going to take each of these dogs and compete them in the opposite venue.
Well, and you kind of need to define what you mean by NACSW odor because dogs tend to see more of a range.
No, I'm just going to say trial standard.
Okay.
So trial standard, competition odor, because if you're training your dog right, then you vary the dog's odor threshold. Okay. And if you're only trained to competition, then you limit yourself to the rule book, and that will make your dog worse. So anyways, we're going to cross venue them. So we take the NACSW dog. Let's take the NACSW dog and throw him into the AKC trial. What I see happening a lot is the dog is overwhelmed. Oh, we got disconnected. Oh, it says we are, but maybe we're not disconnected.